Hello and welcome back to the sparkly new Blizzard Arena here in Burbank, California. We've seen two dominant victories by MVP Black and CE 2-0, both of them, and now it is time for the winners matchup between those two Titan teams here in Group A of the open bracket for the HGC Finals. Let's head on over to the desk to Kalaris and crew to get their thoughts.
Actually, Cloakun, I think you'll find it's an analysis concave as made by the MSB back in the day. I say back in the day, it was a few months ago. That's
It was
fine.
back in the day, though.
It was kind of back in the day. I'm joining with me is Trixler, Wolf, and Gillyweed. Trixler, you're very close to. I know you've missed me. All right.
I'm gonna miss you.
I know you've missed me. I know you've got your lava wave haircut going on
I
and
like
everything
your hair.
like that.
Your hair's nice.
He's a scary individual.
It's been a while.
If you scoot.
I'm sorry.
We're good. We're good.
We're good.
Keep him away from me with his lava waves. I don't want any of that.
Nobody wants
I'm
to
not
catch
toxic. Like, we can hang out. We're good.
All right, enough chaos. For now, we have another series coming up. Let's just kind of recap what we've seen there. CE looking very, very strong. Gilly, what did you make of the CE coming in against Tempo Storm?
So happy that CE came in with a sub with Locktar, that they put KTY on the flexing position.
Yeah.
I felt like of KTY and Suyu, as far as ranged assassins, Suyu was the strongest one. So I'm so happy to see that Locktar was there as the ranged assassin and KTY was the flex, but also just that the emphasis that they've gotten, the inspiration from SPT, that they were not always giving fights to Tempo Storm when Tempo wanted it.
Yeah, I actually think that KTY was the MVP of that second game in particular, shutting down the mosh pits, being out of range of the mosh pits to get the sound barriers up. The Lucio presence that made Fury's life hell in that second game, I think that was really fun to watch. And I think KTY is one of the Lucio players to look out for in this tournament.
For me, it's Tyrael already back in the tournament. Tyrael always shows up at every single international event, and CE comes in and shows why he is that strong. Wings looking particularly great there, and I feel like going forward, that Tyrael is going to be highly contested.
There's a few of us that aren't complaining that Tyrael's back and good to go, ready to go, as that Chinese teams always end up showing us. Of course, we have our next match coming up in a few moments' time. We have CE going up against MVP Black to determine who is going to be the first place in Group A. Let's talk about this match. We saw CE going into those first two drafts with Rehgar Lucio. That was what looked like a very strong staple for them. Are we expecting that again? Are we expecting MVP Black to try and control that? What are we thoughts?
I mean, CE can play a variety of heroes, right? They can pull it off, but I mean, Rehgar Lucio looked great. You're completely correct with Lucio controlling the field of battlefield. It looked like the tanks, if they are controlled well, and Lucio comes in and do that, it seems like CE is ready to engage.
Certainly, I think that MV Black will favor those support players as well, those support heroes, I should say, as well. But so far today, we're seeing mostly the Tassadar Tracer, Commitment Tracer being pushed up to the top, the Brightwing removal to empower that Tracer play. So I think when you look at what MV Black is doing right now, I think maybe trying to draft around the Tracer is going to be the way instead of just trying to get those supports.
But if they continue into the Tracer, Lucio is one hero that people like to use to counter her, and that is because of Sound Barrier and the healing that he can give, as well as something like a Sanctification. Having Tyrael and Lucio, we saw it in Game 1 from Tempo Storm. They could not break through those heroic abilities, and CE weren't even perfectly timing those out. There was some overlap with Sanctification and with Sound Barrier, but on the other side of that, the Korean teams that play double support, these three teams that we have here, they will never overlap abilities like that. It is so freaking rare, and you have to be able to have perfect timings from all those one after another. It's almost like a game of chicken to who loses all their supporting abilities first.
Well, let's focus on MVP Black now, of course, as they come in as arguably one of the strongest contenders for the entire tournament here. Looking against CE, are they worried? What do you think their kind of anticipation is going into the series?
I really think they're not worried. I think they've prepared well for this group. I think that, my experience talking to Black before coming here, that CE was not really a concern for them. They knew CE would probably be their opponent. They expected them to beat Tempo Storm. And I think that what's really cool about what Black has shown us so far in these first stages is really reminiscent to me of going back to DreamHack Summer last year, the Summer Global Championship.
Yeah.
We saw that when they defeated Renovatio on opening day, it was that same sort of like flaunting the look, we have this butcher pick, you have to keep this in mind. Let's show this already. It's kind of fan service at the same time. I think they're coming into this group very confident. And they prepared mostly for CE here more than Tempo Storm, and I think they'll be able to deal with those support prioritizations pretty well.
Yeah, I wondered if the Butcher was this tournament's Samuro, like when Fnatic busted that out.
That was exactly where I was going to go.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike, Gilly. Absolutely. But at the same time, we saw in those first 2 games from MVP Black a focus on Morales. They seem to have a lot of strength behind that.
Well, especially with the Muradin being picked up in the front side and Garrosh too. Those are heroes that can really mix well with the Morales because you can protect her, but also stay in a safe spot to where Muradin or even other tanks like Garrosh and ETC can come back to her. It's a great combo, a great duel that we've seen in the past.
I think Morales is really empowering in the double support meta of a hyper carry of any kind, including the Tracer, who has that burst potential with Pulse Bomb, especially post 10. But in the early game, if you're playing against a team that sometimes makes positional mistakes, suddenly Morales becomes a threat even with her grenade. The grenade activation there, knocking one of the squishies, or even the tank into a position where he's just out of range of his supports, gets hit by that Pulse Bomb, and that's one of the reasons why Morales is so strong in Korea right now.
Well, let's check in with the HGC Universe and see how you guys at home are dealing with that progress bar for HGC. Cheers at the moment. You haven't unlocked me personally, my Deadly Chaos Lizard yet. If you could kindly do that with more cheers.
You identify as a Chaos Lizard? A deadly one?
A deadly one, not an arcane one.
Yeah, we jumped up
Is it
quite
the
a
hair
bit.
color?
It is.
The horn color?
If you look at it, it relates very well. So you guys cheer at home, make sure to cheer for your favorite teams and get that progress bar going, get that Feels Glad Man going, all those kinds of things, very important.
Incredibly close. I remember, gosh, my first number that I remember was 18 million, I believe, and that was a good 6-7 weeks ago. We've had so much progress, and it looks like as we get closer to BlizzCon, this is actually going to be finished up, which is something that is impressive in itself.
Yeah, I'm excited to get my own Chaos Lizard. I want to channel my inner Kalaris, you know, pretend like I was as good of a desk host as you when I ride it. So.
I appreciate that. I can take that one. Okay, let's see which battleground we're going to be going to here for our series to start things off. CE is taking us to Infernal Shrines. We've had quite a variety here to start off the day, no map the same. So what are we thinking of Infernal Shrines between these 2 teams?
I think it's always been a really good map for MVP Black, especially with the heroes that are empowered in the solo lane right now. I think Rich on either Sonya or Dahaka are really good for this map, so I think it actually kind of favors MVP Black in my opinion. I like the Sky Temple ban coming out from CE as MVP Black just dominates that map in terms of macro rotations, gets that early lead, and since it's a pretty snowbally map, I think it's a very wise decision by CE here to ban that.
Kind of interesting to see CE ban that, though, considering that in the league play, that was one of their most favored battlegrounds to choose. But what I've also been looking at is MVP's battleground switch-up. Warhead Junction is far more normal to what we expect to see as a ban from MVP Black, and yet on their first series versus Deadly Kittens, they ended up banning Battlefield of Eternity. So I am still waiting to see why exactly we saw them ban that out. Maybe they had a strategy that they did not want to reveal on that map just yet.
Maybe. All right, let's get into it. Game number 1. The draft begins. CE goes up against MVP Black to advance on to the quarterfinals and advance on to BlizzCon.
And the opening ban here is going to be that Rhaegar. Ariel looking like it might be the answer here from CE. Both supports great on this battleground. CE, if you want to be a little bit more grouped up, that Ariel is always great, but Rhaegar helps clear out the minions, allows for you to get those punishers and keep moving forward. And that's going to be a real important point for both of our teams. What will they be grabbing to make sure they can contest the shrines? Sonya will be a first pick here for MVP Black.
And this goes back to that solo lane hero that's great on the shrine. Sonya can solo shrine, and one of Rich's best heroes, and it's dominating the top lane matchup right now when Malthael is removed away. So I like this. You don't want to blind pick the Brightwing first that MVP Black's been banning so much right now, because if you do, then Black just moves away from that style. So I think that, like, when you go to the Sonya here early, you're controlling that top lane. CE is probably frustrated with this situation now, but how they counter it, I think, is... We're going to learn a lot about what their strategy going into this best of 3 is going to be right now in these first 2 picks.
Yeah, CE used to want to get Sonya as well as Rhaegar before the second bans on Infernal Shrines, and now Rhaegar's been taken away. Sonya has been taken away. They used to pick a lot of Malthael, but they had changed that up with Sonya's popularity to get Sonya and then ban Malthael. So that's maybe why we're seeing them take this full amount of time, seeing that MVP Black has done their research, or at least has seen what they played in the last match versus Tempo Storm. They're once again going to get their Garrosh and pick up an early Brightwing.
Brightwing and Garrosh, not a bad combo. Brightwing very popular in Korea, one that you will see picked up very often with her ability to global soak. Most even believe her to be a bit stronger than Dahaka, which is odd to say, but Korea really loves their Brightwing, so CE takes the opportunity to grab it for themselves.
If there was any attempt at space control, it's certainly that one. Isolate and then Emerald Wind away. Let's try and kill that target fast.
Well, we're going to see the Uther Greymane pick up here. This is kind of old school for Phase 2, and it wasn't always seen towards the end of Phase 2 for the Korean scene. But they were obviously going to move away from the Tracer after the Brightwing came in. When given the opportunity to ban the Brightwing, that's the Blacks' go-to. Knowing CE was pushing towards that Rhaegar style and the Lucio you guys were talking about, that's the angle they took, and they're just adapting here with the Greymane as a result. So I like this, just moving into a different hyper carry here.
Well, I was thinking that maybe CE would want to get Tyrael. We've seen how strong Wind is with Tyrael, but Wind also was playing Garrosh in the last game. I'm not sure if Paradise would feel as comfortable with Tyrael. And in this case, then, that still leaves Tyrael as a possibility to go along with this Greymane Uther, just constant invulnerability.
Yeah, I'd prefer that ban to the Stukov ban because it obviously synergized with Sonya as well. It gives her a lot of protection there. So, yeah, the Stukov ban obviously removes a lot of the zone control for MVP Black, but I don't personally like it as much as a Tyrael ban. I think the Tyrael ban goes back to the style of Black when running these types of comps.
The Stukov ban, though, kind of screams to me pretty heavily that they want to maybe move into a Lunara, though, really wanting to stress their opponent. Stukov is great at countering that. It does require a bit of a slower style from CE, so it's kind of odd to mix it with the Garrosh, but with the Stukov being banned out, 5 supports being moved forward, MVP Black is a little bit lower on the possibilities for supports they can grab to handle that type of poison.
What are we thinking about, aside from the Lunara, any other damage that may come in for CE?
Well, we're testing Locktar for sure.
Yeah.
That's a Greymane who's already been taken, and then Cassia was banned. So if not that, it's just about, like, there's Vala that's still up if you want that kind of hyper carry that you have. You definitely need somebody who's going to be able to do a lot of damage to the Shrine, be able to give that kind of Shrine presence to the team.
I don't think we're leaning towards, like, some sort of meta shift here to, like, a mage play. Like,
yeah, I was just wondering that, like,
Gul'dan?
maybe Gul'dan or Kael'thas?
Gul'dan or Kael'thas are thinking
like,
the
as the stun
options.
follow-up?
The Lucio and the Muradin here, I don't think that's going to be the case. They want to... See, this is a moment... I like this moment in the draft here for CE because there's not an obvious pick with the range DPS available for carry.
Right,
so they just do a safe second support into a Muradin. They're going to leave the DPS that's something well-suited for Black's last picks. I like that move a lot.
Maybe this is something special. If you look at how that's worked out when it comes to having that last slot open, and you're going up against a team where you think that they are world champion caliber. How do we defeat them? Well, you could see something special.
It could be. It could also be because they want to leave it open-ended. They want to see what extra support.
Why do you have to rain on our parade?
I know. I'm just saying. Like,
Mr. Lava Wet, Mr. Tricks Wacky Meta over here.
you know what?
Just said,
You know what?
something
It's
normal.
definitely a Murky. 150% there. I think mostly it's want to leave it open, right? They've already gone through what we've already seen from MVP Black. If they go with the solo Uther, that Lunara becomes more tasty. If there's enough support they pick up, like Karazim's still available,
Yeah.
Lunara not so much.
I think Morales is still a possibility here.
True.
And the Tyrael is strong.
Oh.
We're going to see Ana here actually coming out with the Arthas pick. The Arthas is a safe one to pick when you don't know what the DPS is going to be. This well-rounds the composition because you have kind of two tanks in a way, with Sonya being the bruiser but still very tanky with the Uther comp. And Ana's going to give a lot of extra healing to those tanks.
Yeah.
Exciting to see the first Ana here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are theorizing a power, saying this is situational, but I think a healing potential behind all of that is extremely scary.
Zul!
Ah!
Wow.
I just want to say, well played, Gillyweed. She
Thank
did the
you.
motion before it even came in.
Yeah, I was throwing some axes over
She
your
was.
way,
Yeah.
all the way across the desk.
Yeah.
We have him, Zul'jin. We have heard from quite a lot of teams, not only about Ana, but about Zul'jin too, where his power level lies with his rework. And
Yes.
in general, it seemed like it was more of a, well, he's good, but there are other hyper carries that are just better. Things like Vala, things like Greymane. But in this instance, a lot of things were gone here, and China has been known to play Zul'jin here and again. I'm excited to see it busted out here.
I think Zul'jin's really good with Lucio and Brightwing
Yeah.
because you manage the threshold of low health, high attack speed without dying. And when things get rash, you just Taz Dingo, you survive, do that extra damage. But throughout this game, he's going to have to build his baseline damage. It's going to take a long time. And MVP Black is known to finish games on this map very quickly. I don't know if this Zul'jin pick is going to work out. Even though it's good for the draft, I think, it's not good against Black's playstyle.
It's exciting.
That's a great actual point that you brought up there, though, Wolf, is because this is something that I've been theorizing since the change came along, can a Zul'jin at this top tier of play get that quest finished when you know that there's the potential to be punished behind that, and that's something that's got to be scary, right?
Well, the nice thing is, at least it is Infernal Shrines that we're going to. It's a 1-4 battleground in general, so they can keep Zul'jin there and know that he is going to be in a position where he can have people to auto-attack. The problem with that is he's got to be careful. Sleep Dart is a problem for them, and it is going to be followed up with a lot of different things, a lot of different crowd control because Uther is there as well as Muradin. So it's all about the positioning and making sure that he is in a good position and protected by his Garrosh's Brightwing.
Well, don't forget, guys, you can vote out there as well as to who you think is going to be victorious here in this series, and most importantly, who is going to be moving through to the quarterfinals and at BlizzCon, as our commentary team is now ready to go to find out who is going to be moving on. So without further ado, CE goes up against MVP Black.
Hilarious, and our first game here in the winner bracket final is already pretty amazing. Zul'jin is a great pick, and I'm happy that we're seeing him here.
I mean, the first time we're going to see the Eastern Clash almost have a repeat with both MVP Black taking on CE, looking to secure that #1 spot, and what better way to drum up some energy by getting the Zul'jin, getting the Ana, and getting a cool game.
The one thing that we heard about from basically every single team is that they all think Zul'jin currently is a little bit undervalued, but very few actually expected to see him a lot at the event here. So it's pretty cool to already have the Chinese team using him here against MVP Black, who actually is the favorite for most teams that are at the event right now to reach at least the finals.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of teams have said that, you know, Korea have just stepped it up a significant level since the mid-season brawls, since the clashes as well. So Europe, they were the top dog for a while, but Korea want to reclaim that crown. They want to come back in. And I mean, Zul'jin, you just begged the question before. A lot of people said, yes, he's been reworked, but there are better choices to pick. But see, you don't think so.
Yeah, at this point, of course, we're going to head straight now our first game. Infernal Shrines, the best of 3 starting up here. CE going up against MVP Black, and we're going to find out which one of these two teams takes the lead in the best of 3 series.
There we go, jumping into it now from China. CE, Lokta on Zul'jin, Wind on Garrosh. Paradise Muradin, KTY and Lucio, and a Luflol, right wing.
Yeah, CE, the Chinese team here, of course, doing a great job already against an a bit early on against Tempo Storm. And to the right side, it's MVP Black with Lokta on Zul'jin, Saka on Uther. And Lokta is a little bit on a different team here. Reset actually on Greyman, as you can see. We have Tist on Arthas right now, Kyoja on Ana, and of course, Rich on Sonya. And the one that we missed was, I think, Saka and Uther.
There we go, jumping into game #1. Paradise. Rework Muradin. We've seen this trend with Third Wind continuing around. There goes the Sleep Dart to open things up. We're on towards Wind. He is going to run away. Nice and beefy as Garrosh with that armor neatly built in there. As the skirmish breaks out. Fantastic map for Ana, looking to utilize the Piercing Dart quest, looking to try and generate that up as quickly as possible. Double heals, double stuns. Double ways to find those initiations. That's going to be Rich jumping in with the Ancient Spear. He gets flipped away. Welwyn going to find a fair bit of sustain for him as they come around for the turnaround, looking for that first blood, and Brightwing falls.
Brightwing going down, and she might not be the only one. The second kill as Zul'jin is also annihilated, and MVP Black opening up the game with a 2-0 kill lead here. There's a lot of stuff, of course, to talk about. We already mentioned Muradin, and we have heard others already talk about him. He's insanely strong right now. He's been a constant theme when teams were talking about the current meta, that he is one of the big staples, especially since with the synergy that you have with your level 7 and your level 16 and later on, you just have so much mobility, and you are posing such a huge threat all of a sudden with Muradin to the backline of your opponents. We're going to see a lot of aggressive play there. Talking about aggression already, CE with another attempt to take down Tist.
And they are. Tist is going to find a fair bit of damage on towards him. The team come through with the rotation. They do manage to get him away, but the rotations have been clean and they've been quick for MVP Black so far, finding themselves in a half-level lead as once again Tist is in the front line, scouting out, getting that valuable information. And KTY, I mean, he's having an absolute blast on this Lucio, boosting around this map.
At the same time, also when we're looking at the talents that have so far been taken, one of the things that also stands out a little bit is that on Brightwing we're now seeing a Lufu with Dream Shot on level 1, so definitely going to work around Arcane Flare a little bit more. Also helps, of course, with the control over the minion count when your objective comes into play, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now as MVP Black moves up top together with CE, who now move in with KTY to make it a 4 versus 4.
4v4, both supports in the bottom lane, but Brightwing will have that advantage, able to phase shift in at a moment's notice when needed. Little dudes, 10 in favor right now for MVP Black, taking the lead down. One there goes to Sleep Dart to start things off with. Will allow Test to then guarantee that Howling Blast to connect. A lot of lockdown that MVP Black can acquire to allow both Sonya and Greymane to find that kill.
Both of them currently on level 4, so they have the extra talent in, but as you said, Brightwing can move in if need be. For now, Black is actually ahead when it comes to the count. Here comes Brightwing. The 5 versus 4 started. Uther is on the way. Paradise barely getting out now, though, as KTY is the center of attention for MVP Black, but Lucio is able to move away. And now we're having finally Saka also joining up. But MVP Black already doing a fantastic job in a 4 versus 5 situation.
Man, you got to look at the stats and say, you know, nobody died from CE, but both, or actually 2 members from CE got extremely low. And that's enough for MVP Black to continue this control on the point. 25 in climbing off the footing required. Sake's taking a lot of damage right now. He's going to run in, looking for that depth so he can continue the heals. And that's going to be enough now for MVP Black to stick around a little bit further. Test is dropping low. The attention has been switched on Teresa. However, the polymorph, the damage, the kill. And that is 2, as CE look to try and take control back themselves.
CE going in for 3rd one. Kyoja goes down. Ana dead. And great play by the Chinese team. MVP Black definitely the one at the beginning of the entire tournament to make their stance, but now all of a sudden CE comes in, they drop Sonya, but they lose Suljin, but it's in the end nearly a complete team wipe against MVP Black. The Punisher is still claimed, of course, by them, but the Chinese team have definitely shown that when it comes to team fight control, they're doing a fantastic job here, and that frontline combo with Garrosh and Muradin is starting to look pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's their biggest strength. We've asked all these Chinese teams, you know, what defines you? Say, as a region, we are known for aggression. We want to have those team fights. We want to make sure our team fight is strong to make up for those other areas that lack. That might be split push, that might be globals, that might be macro as a whole. And right there, you can see the idea from MVP Black was, let's finish this one off between both Test and Rich. Let's try and run away, because then that Punisher can act as that 3rd member in the team fight. It wasn't enough. 5 members go down, but still, even Stevens, 6-all.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we still have to talk about. Obviously, when you're talking about Anna, we normally see her in the double support combos, and one of the most important things when playing with her is trying to complete the quest on piercing darts, just so that you have the extra range. The range increase by 50% allows you to be a bit safer in the backline. The problem that we have in this situation right now is that Anna still oftentimes finds herself in range of Garrosh if he's able to step out, and then those flips become extremely dangerous. But even later on, once Muradin has his 16, he can still jump into the backline and try to apply pressure onto her. And then Uther would have to react with a potential Divine Shield even, which in a normal situation he would rather save for Greymane, for Sonya, depending on the situation, to allow the 2 damage dealers to go way deeper into the opponent's setup and apply pressure themselves. So it's an interesting dynamic that we have here.
Absolutely, as you see there, once again, Kyoja on the hunt for those Sleep Dark quests. As you mentioned, yeah, I know, very much the same as Morales in the fact that, you know, she doesn't have that mobility. She can output a ton of sustained healing to amplify with that biotic grenade for the amplification there too. But if you jump onto her, she is a sitting duck in the water, and that's something that definitely CE will be looking to utilize there as the stun comes across. Wind utilizing the armor, no heals, no potential to run away, or does he? He proves me otherwise. Up to 42 armor, gets the jump on back through, but Test, I mean, he's hungry.
Killing Garrosh is definitely always a choice. It's always one of those things you finally think you have him, but thanks to the trade, of course, it's incredibly difficult. We haven't really talked too much about Suljin and his build just yet, but let's take a closer look at Loktar. We currently have on level 1 Recklessness taken, but of course on level 4 it's the Armani Rage, which is really the crucial talent here. It's such a cool tool that you have now after the rework that you can instantly drop 50% of your health. And that, of course, works with especially a mage build incredibly well. The Arcanite Axis on level 7 with the cooldown reduction alone, that already really helps you to just like get that damage in over and over again. And as we see that next Punisher, the next Shrine activating on the map, we're also closing in slowly and steadily on level 10, where things are going to get really interesting here.
Absolutely, especially as soon as Guillotine is unlocked out there for Loktar and Zul'jin, looking for that one shot.
Exactly.
Rich, you jump on in. Greymane, you jump on in. Well, hang on, you're deleted, and there's no chance for a response by Sake with the Divine Shield as the fight breaks on out here in the bottom lane. The flip is on to Reset, the polymorph to follow things up with. He has to jump away, and he does jump away as now double flips come across. It's going to be Lucio to fall on down first. A double kill as MVP Black smell blood in the water.
MVP Black going in, going deep, trying to get the triple, and they do. Zul'jin down, Muradin barely getting away, as we still see Sonya on the point. Rich just collecting one after another, making sure that they now get another Punisher as well. But you could see the idea of CE. I mean, the whole thought process here, after Heavy Impact for Muradin has come online, is get the flip with Garrosh, get your combo, and then Muradin starts to jump in, hits the initial stun, drops the Storm Bolt, and tries to lock the target down long enough for Zul'jin to get all the damage in. And just imagine that now with Guillotine later on as well. If you can make that play, you can get a lot of potential instant kills. But so far, MVP Black doesn't really allow it. They go in again and they take down Muradin.
Oh, Paradise so upset there. He's actually going for that Dwarven toss, but the Howling Blast comes across and locks him in place. And just like that, Reset jumping across for that Reset. Doesn't find it on his go for the throat, but he gets the kill nonetheless. And now this Punisher will find value. Punisher in the bot lane, defended here by Lokta. The rest of MVP just rotate through to the mid lane. They want macro. This is their map. They're cycling through chronologically, taking down every single structure they can and surmount this lead.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting now, because at this point, CE, of course, can try and get their combos off as well. And we once again look towards Garrosh for the initiation, and then Muradin with a follow-up, Brightwing even, with the Emerald Wind, able to just like push them out properly. And with those isolations, you can really get good kills, especially against double support combos with a Divine Shield available on Uther. Those panic buttons that exist for MVP Black only come into play if Uther is able to get close enough here. But then at the same time, Black has really been driving the aggression here, but they're only one level ahead. So they have been able to take down 2 forts, but they only have a 1-level lead. Of course, it still helps them with the structural position on the map, but CE still has a few chances and a couple of team fights left in them here.
And I mean, we knew this game was going to be a clash of the clans in the sense that, you know, both of these teams want to fight. They want to force those kills. We're seeing so far 12 between both of them. And this is looking like a 13th. If we can jump into this one here, no, this time Paradise does connect. Imagine that, the sleep dart, if it did happen mid-animation, they might still chase on through, but no, Wind comes up with the boys. They're saying, let's go for that fight. Sound barrier dropped on down, and now Paradise jumping in with that level 7 instantly, the Divine Shield coming on out to make sure that things do stay around. But Garrosh, with the Warlord's challenge, doing what he can, but it's not gonna be enough. He is gonna be the first one to fall. 2 frontliners gone like that, and well, MVP Black, they're hungry, they want kills.
Oh yeah, they definitely want this, and it's not only about this game. When we talk to them, it's all about them redeeming themselves. It's actually really interesting. When you talk to them about the matches that they played in the past, and also BlizzCon last year, they straight up admit that, especially in the games against Fnatic at BlizzCon 2016, they felt more so that they played weak, that they allowed too many mistakes on their end to be exploited by Fnatic. And that they were way more impressed by the European teams when they played at the mid-season brawl, because they said, well, back then at the mid-season brawl, we felt we played to our potential, but it was just not enough to beat the European teams here. But now they are here, they are back for revenge, and they want to show that they are on the top of the skill level.
Teams themselves actually had a bit of a sense of realization when they went over there and think, actually, we're not as strong as we thought we might have been. These are different.
To do here by Lokta, trying to get the guillotine damage in. So far, he hasn't really committed to the kills, just if he did to empower his team. And then you have Garrosh getting into range for a combo, you have Muradin ready with the Stormbolt. And talking Stormbolts, Muradin actually needs only one more Stormbolt here to complete his quest here.
And once he has that,